So I got something on here saying we boot something. Okay, let's get it up. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Um, y'all know what this is, doing my thing. This is Party Marty coming from We're Party Marty. Let's talk. Good evening, CC. Good evening, Gina. Can
Good
y'all hear
evening.
me? Okay, cool. Hit your mic and you muted, Gina. Unmute yourself. All right. Y'all know what time it is. Time for us to start talking some important events happening in our world today. If you don't know our format is we get on here and we talk about a few events that's happening in our world today. We start off with two of our heavy hitters. As usual, we have Gina Lee, who is our historian, who speaks about pretty much on every topic. A lot of her topics are researched from history. The other person who last name looks like mine, excuse me, is CC Tates, and that's my lovely wife. Good evening, ladies.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening. Good evening. It's always good to be on the show, and as y'all say, in the land of the living. You know what I mean? We're gonna go off and get started today. Everybody doesn't know we start our show with the same thing all the time. We get our praying. Anybody else that doesn't know about getting your praying, as they say, get you a God of understanding, some kind of faith. You can do it. If you can't, oh well. But I need to remind people as my shout out to my um sponsor. If anybody doesn't know who I am, I'm an ex-dope fiend, West Baltimore jailbird thug. My name is Maurice Tates. They call me West Baltimore Party Marty. Sticks these names to you and you can't let them go. So if you don't know, I want everybody to know you look at a God of your understanding. My sponsor is a Muslim. His name is Kurt. Thank you very much for Kurt for putting time and effort into me. Met him at Peachtree on Fulton and Monroe and Lawrence Street washing cars. Didn't know him from Adam. I was out there in the grips of thing, beat up, strung out. People asking my drug of choice. Uh, Whatever I could get my hands on. You know, drug of choice is dope, coke, and ready. My wife never makes a big deal about me when I start telling my story because she understands her husband. Gina Lee, you'll know if you see Gina in the corner. Gina and I have been friends literally since the kindergarten. We went to kindergarten together. We hung out together and played games together. We worked in the summer corps together. We went to some schools together. We've been friends literally for 60 years. So it's not too much that I can pull over on Gina because Gina's been knowing me through the good and the bad. All right, that moving along. When I was telling you about a God of your understanding, I mentioned Kirk because what I need to make effort to, if you're listening, is, and I didn't know, I don't care if you worship Allah. I don't care if you worship Buddha. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you worship jelly beans or green Lincoln Continentals on Tuesday. Somewhere along the line, get you a God of your understanding, a God of your understanding, some type of faith. All the rest of us that believe in God only worship one God. We all worship God. Doesn't matter who he is. He's God. You know what I mean? So get that in. All right, moving right along. Let's get out. We get our praying. Then there's a quick moment of silence. And then we start the show, starting prayer. Father God, thank you for all the wonderful things that's happening in our world today. Father God, please touch everybody that's dealing with this pandemic. Father God, let's even be helpful and thankful for the locusts that's on their way to come out every 17 years or what have you. And if people don't know, they're out here to mate. So when you start thinking about the noise and what's going on, just remember here's something that's a cycle of 17 years. It's a wondrous thing. A wondrous thing. Father God, keep it going. Father God, we always pray for everybody that's out there fighting those God-forsaken wars over there so that we can do podcasts, eat bonbons and hang out and do all the things that we're doing. Father God, we pray that Donnie Glover and b1news.com, blackusa.news, stay strong for giving us a platform to talk about, giving you the podcast to put information out there. Father God, all we do is pray that you keep everybody safe in your arms, close to your bosom, and in your circle. Moment of silence, please. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, y'all. All right, the format, if anybody is new, what we do, we work around the horn, talk about a few topics, and go from there. We usually start our topics off with whatever we think. I'm going to start this topic today, or the segment out today, with Gina Lee. And here's what I do. If anybody doesn't know how this thing works, I got my smooth little line I call as I segue in. I say, Gina Lee, what's your topic for the
Yes.
night? And then I go, I'm Party Marty. What's your topic? Let's talk.
Gina Lee reporting here for Party Marty Let's Talk. Got a topic for you tonight. My topic tonight is W.E.B. Du Bois and the Du Bois House. Now, the house is located in the Morgan Park neighborhood of Northeast Baltimore, whether you know it or not. And we all know W.E.B. Du Bois, at least I hope you know, that he's a famous scholar, intellectual, pioneer in the civil rights movement. He was born in February 23rd, 1868. His birth name was William Edward Burghardt Du Bois. Everybody wanted to know what that B stood for. He was born in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. And in his teen years, he went on to attend Fisk University. And at that time, which Fisk is in Nashville, at that time, that was one of his first experiences with racism. Now, he did get his first bachelor's degree from Fisk in 1890, but he went on to get his second bachelor's degree at Harvard in and he graduated with top academic honors. He went on for a few years to the University of Berlin, and then he came back to Harvard and got he was the first African American to earn a PhD from Harvard. Now, in 1903, he wrote a book called The Souls of Black Folk. And that book is still required reading at many universities today. Now, he became a teacher at Ohio, a college in Ohio, where he taught Greek and Latin. And then he went to teach at the University of Pennsylvania. But in 1905, while teaching at the Atlanta University, that's where he launched what was called the Niagara Movement. The Niagara Movement was one of the first civil rights organizations formed in this country. Now, it lasted for about 3 years. So in 1908 is when he and 5 other African Americans joined together to form the NAACP. And we all know about them. But he later, and this was something I didn't know, that he later broke off from the NAACP because he did not support integration. He believed that Black people should be independent from the white establishment. And I did not know that. So W.E.B. Du Bois decided to organize the Second Pan-African Congress in Paris. And that oversaw the Pan-African movement, which is still in effect today. In 1939, he moved to Baltimore. Now, his daughter was already here in Baltimore. She was teaching at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. Little did we know. So he bought a couple of plots of land and built a home large enough for he and his family and his daughter's family. And he picked the location for the purchase because of it was near the university, Morgan State University. And he lived there for over a decade. And during that time, he published 3 books, Dust to Dawn in 1940, The Color of Democracy in 45, The World in Africa in 1946. Now, he remained a parent, grandparent, and husband, but he was always the scholar and activist. So in 1951, he sold the property. That was after the death of his wife, Nina, in 1950. But shortly after, in 1951, he married again to a Miss Shirley Graham, and they moved to New York City. Well, the Department of Justice indicted him in 1961 for his involvement with an organization called the Peace Information Center, which he was the chairman of. And their, I guess, mission was to gather information for peace initiatives from other countries. And the DOJ didn't like that. Of course, they didn't like it because a Black person was doing it. So in 1961, at age 93, guess what he did? He joined the Communist Party right here in the United States. And shortly after that, became a citizen. He and Shirley became citizens of Ghana. So he died 2 days before the infamous March on Washington and Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. 2 days. And Martin Luther King, being so he was, an up and coming civil rights leader, he and his followers kind of looked at W.E.B. Du Bois as a dinosaur because they were, about change. And he wasn't, he was like, no, he was more on the order, in my opinion, of a Malcolm X. He was about support us first, and so they praised him, but they really didn't focus on his ideology. So the house, like I said, was sold in 1951 to a family, the Woods family, Leo and Geneva, and the house still is in the Woods family name today. And so if you're ever out and about and you want to just take in some history, the house is located at 2302 Montebello Terrace near Morgan State University. It's not a very big house compared to some of the other houses in the neighborhood, but historical nonetheless. So I advise you to, take in some of the history we have right here in Baltimore. I spoke on previous shows about the Billie Holiday house. The Frederick Douglass house I will speak on at another time. But we need to promote these kinds of things for our young people to let them know that we have a very rich Black history right here in Baltimore. So all I wanted to say, that's all I wanted to say. I did, should I say my other topic now, Miss Maurice, or I'll pass it back to you and save that for later? You're muted.
Okay. Um,
So should I
Go ahead,
say
Gina. Go ahead, Gina.
should I say? Okay, I'm gonna say it now. Um, Something that I kind of hold near and dear. We grew up in um, what they now call Southwest Baltimore, but I consider it Northwest Baltimore. We grew up in the neighborhood of Lafayette, where Lafayette Bowling Alley historically is, and all of us grew up in a very tight knit group. So we all knew each other. We went to school with each other, as you said before. And one of our um, friends that we grew up with made it to stardom, and that was Tamara Dobson.
Yes.
Tamara lived on Mosier Street, and she was 6'2", and she shined her light wherever she went. So we all know her as a prominent model. She graced many magazines and runways with her fashion statements, but she was best known for her portrayal of Cleopatra Jones.
Yes.
And she finally is being acknowledged by her alma mater, Western High School. And her portrait will now be in the lobby of Western High School's notable alumni.
Well, hands up, hands up, hands up. There we go. Great job, great job. Let me tell you, first of all, excellent reporting, both topics, and we're gonna piggyback on them, go back there. Let's talk about Tamara. We called her Tammy. You know, Gina Lee and I grew up with her. Her brother, well, it was her and Derwin and our younger brother Peter. Peter, what he calls himself, Gina? Peter A. Dobson. You know what I mean? He always says that, yeah, we went to Northwestern together. We graduated together. We went to high school together. Me, he, and Joe Cook went to the prom together. Peter and I was one of my best friends, period, ever. Ever. I just talked to him a little while ago. That's him, Gina. He's on the phone. He don't realize I told him about it. He's steady sending you shout outs and thank you. Peter, all you got to do is type something across the screen. He said, you hear my phone keep doing? That's Peter. All right. Peter's the brother. You know what I mean? He remembers Gina. Everybody remembers Gina. But anyway, let's talk about the fact that Gina made mention of too. When I say they were tall, we talking stallions. We're talking stallions. Back in the day, women didn't grow that tall. You know what I mean, Gina? Were they tall or what? I mean,
They
just
were, I mean, I'm 5'3" today.
yeah.
So you can imagine coming up, I was probably all of 5 feet tall.
Right, right, right.
The whole family, the
Yeah,
whole family
yeah.
were 6 foot, 6 foot tall, statuesque, very attractive, um, bound to be snatched up by somebody's modeling agency. So,
Classy.
we were very, very proud of them when we were coming up.
When I came along, Peter got before she had a big role in Cleopatra Jones, she was in Comeback Charleston Blue. People don't realize the scene where they blew up. They was in the graveyard shooting. She was one of them that ran from behind the grave when it got shot. And we were so fast. The
Okay.
skimmet was this song. All they did was when then they shot over there, hit the tombstone, and she ran out. Peter said, "That's my sister. That's my sister." Now anybody else would laugh and say, "I ain't paying no attention." But because we knew it, she was 7 feet tall. We said, "Yeah, that's Tamara." You knew who she was because
Yeah,
she was so tall. She was laid up. That was
right.
Come Back Charleston Blue. She was in the picture with Red Fox and something else. She was in several
Yes.
movies until she got a big break. But when she was Cleopatra Jones, you talk about out of control, and we couldn't shut ourselves down from bragging. We had tickets to go down to the show. Oh my goodness. Remember Gina, remember how tall his
Yes.
mother was? His mother was 6'3", 6'4". I mean, this is just
There
a
you go.
tall, prominent family. And they lived on a corner house next to the corner store on Mosier and Bentlow. It's Mosier and Bentlow,
Yes.
then it's the corner store,
Yes.
then it's Peter and them house. Peter
Yes.
Abraham Dawson. Hands up again for a
Yeah.
feel good story. Hands up, hands up, hands up again. Great job for a feel good story. That's Al Root. That's West Baltimore. You're going to tell the story, tell the whole story about us. Shout out to the great James Mosier that brought a lot of us through. Tamara, you made it because of three things: reading, writing, and arithmetic that was taught at James Mosier. You know, it's amazing to me how we get through life and people talk about 0.13 and all grade point averages. When we were in elementary school, you remember, you remember, Gina? Are you kidding? Everybody could read. Everybody could count. I mean, you learned all that in elementary school. It was no
And
way
if
you.
and if and if you couldn't, your mother would go to school and sit in the classroom with you until you
Oh
learned
my
how.
God! Do you remember the? Do you remember the embarrassment of PTA meetings? Do you remember that
Hmm.
embarrassment? Do you? I'm gonna tell you what my mother did before we move along. You would always go to the PTA meeting. You would say, "Mama, I want you to meet Miss Savage. I want you to meet Miss Johnson and meet Miss Craig." And then you would tell all the people you want to meet, and guess what? First thing she do, she'd have you over there at Mr. Gibson class. Ain't nobody say nothing about
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mr. Gibson. They take you to the teachers that you didn't mention. Take you where you didn't want to go. Do you remember? I don't know. Gina is my age. CC, my wife, is younger. When Gina and I went to school, CC, PTA meetings were so crowded. Do you hear me? They were held in the auditorium. You remember that, Gina? It was hundreds of
Yes.
people in the auditorium. Parents, they were all over the place, standing room only. So what my mother and them started doing is, towards the end, the last 15, 20 minutes, they act like they had to go to the bathroom. They went up to your classroom and got in line. Because if you waited till the presentation was over, man, you talk about how many people you had to wait to see a teacher. You were there literally for hours. Now, a PTA meeting might have 10 parents in there. All
So
told,
true.
it's so sad. Well, Gina, thank you very much. Shout out to Peter A. Dobson, my good friend, Joe Cook, everybody, if you're listening. Rest in peace, Glenford Thompson. You know, that's a real feel good thing. That water comes in my heart, may come out my eyes. And that Peter didn't call 8 or 9 times, Gina. He's still not the sharpest pencil in the box, I guess. But he got a degree
Go
from
down to the
Pepperdine.
bottom of the screen and hit the one that say chat, and then he can type.
Yeah, but hey, Peter got a degree from Pepperdine. You know what I mean? Like Gina said, they're all educated. They're all sharp. I'm gonna tease them and stuff like that, but that long line of common sense they got out of it. Well, anyway,
Oh Lord.
that's a good way to start. CC, my lovely wife, with your new
Yes,
what's it
indeed.
called? Gina, my wife now, boy, look at her little light shine over top of her computer. She got the little light over
I
top of it. She
see.
got a stand and everything. And Gina, I think
I'm
she,
gonna tell you one
Yeah.
thing. He is such a hater.
I,
You know, one thing I ain't gonna be the laughing stock of nothing. So last week I couldn't
Not.
keep my tablet still. I was in, I was out. I couldn't do nothing. I said that's okay. I know who can help me. Amazon. Let me get me a stand. Let me get me a ring light. You know, Florida done got me a little charge, so I need a little more light to be seen these days. But by
There
the
you
grace of
go.
God,
There you go.
my light are here.
hey y'all,
There
hey,
you go.
for everybody that was listening last week, I want to leave you with one thing to make you laugh before we move on, Gina. We had a CC birthday was Saturday, so Sunday we had a cookout, her birthday party or what have you, and it was standing room on 100 people here. You know, now that we done took the mask off and stuff, it's a come and go as you want thing, you know, and it's funny. Because after all that she talked, my wife is the Amazon queen. Now we got, I need to show you. We got in her she shack, we got like I don't know, a whole auditorium for karaoke. We got 4 mics on the stands, and we got the fancy karaoke speakers the whole wall, and the crystal ball spins around and stuff like that. They will sing. If you've seen what I post, Gina, you might have seen her birthday. They doing karaoke. So after she said, "Don't do drunken karaoke," she said that last Tuesday. Well, last Sunday, drunken karaoke again.
But guess what? See, when you know better, you do better. I knew not to make all my shots real. Some of my shots was water this time. I need both of my ankles intact.
Well, y'all, and listen, look, sometime like we were saying to everybody that's out there in TV land or podcast land, all our shows aren't the same. Sometimes we start off, Gene is giving you a bunch of knowledge about Mr. W.B. Du Bois, talking about a neighborhood hero, Miss Tamara Dobson. Shout out to Peter and Daryl and the Dobson family. Gina, you may not remember when they got older, they had a Great Dane. They used to walk the dog. The dog was tall. Yeah, they had a big Great Dane. You know what I mean? They used to walk that dog, tall as them. They're a prominent family. They do everything over the top. You know what I mean? They do everything over the top, and I love that about them. But if y'all don't know, all our formats and different days are different things. That was a historian thing. That's some down to earth stuff, and we're talking some feel good and laughing stuff. We want you to know. Let me
say one thing.
Go ahead.
First of all, happy birthday, CC. I'm so sorry I didn't make it over there to your celebration. But I want to tell you, one of the reasons I didn't make it over there to the celebration was I was celebrating with another neighborhood friend, Rhonda Samuel Williams. I was over her house at a paint and sip. And it was wonderful. It was one, but it touches my heart. You know, when I see my friends that I grew up with and I see their children all grown up with children of their own. And, you know, it's just amazing. It's out. Where'd the time go? You know, because she brought up, well, I even won a prize at the paint and sip because I was her oldest friend at the event. You know,
that's cool. Yeah.
It was just something. But one of the things she brought up was, she said, "Who remembers Carlin's Drive-In?" I said,
Emerson Avenue.
I said, "Your father used to pile us in that
in the van, that red van.
And we would go get Kentucky Fried Chicken and some snacks and go out to Carlin's Drive-In and take in the movie. And it was the best part of the weekend. I'm telling you.
Gina now slipped and made a mistake. Our historian called it Kentucky Fried Chicken. What do we call it? Geno's buckets of chicken back when we used to get them. Remember, Gina? It was Geno's. You know what I mean? And Mr. John used to get us a bucket of chicken. We be in the river. He taught us so many things. This man is so awesome. He helped raise us all. If you have anything to do with that, you know, if you have anything to do with that, as a matter of fact, it's truly amazing to me how you would say that, because do you want to know what my topic is tonight?
What's your topic?
Mr. John Samuels.
Get out of here.
Water come to my heart and come to my eyes. Mr. John Samuels. That's my topic tonight. Well, let me do this as I segue in. Let me think, Party Marty. What's your topic tonight? Party Marty? Let's talk. Hello? I'm Party Marty reporting from Party Marty Let's Talk. My topic tonight is piggybacking on a topic that Gina had a little while back about swimming pools. Druid Hill Park, if people doesn't know, Gina's topic were swimming pools, where they started. And she told me, if you would listen, if you look back over there by the tennis courts where it's the Atrium Pavilion, you'll see what it was at that time, the black swimming pool. If you look for it, you'll still see the guard chair. It's filled in with dirt and things of that nature, but you still see the house. I rode by there so many times, everybody, and didn't know that's what it was, Cece and Gina, until our very informative show told me. That thing that's sticking out of the ground that I keep looking at that looks like a guard chair, guess what it is? A guard chair. It's a lifeguard chair. but it's low, and God chairs sit up high because it's all covered in. So anyhow, we have some important persons that gave us a chance. One of the persons is Mr. John Samuels. We called him the Creamer. Mr. John Samuels. We all that worked at Druid Hill Park swimming pool, if you worked at Druid Hill Park swimming pool, believe it or not, one way or another, you got your job through Mr. John Samuels. To Mr. John Samuels. If you have anything to do as a lifeguard or the Maryland Heart Association or what was that thing, CC, that we always have to get certified for? What is the thing called?
CPR.
CPR. Mr. John Samuels taught all those things. Gina Lee and them were 17 years old. They were lifeguards. And when I say not lifeguards that just played around and put the hook in there and drew you out the water, when you started your day, Carol and Buzzard may walk to her and say, "How you doing? It's a nice day to take a swim. Give me 20 laps." 20 laps. Gina, Daryl Anderson, Carol, Jimmy
I was
Hayes,
in
Chico.
shape
You feeling me? Guess what they did? They hit that pool. They hit that pool. We came back from
every day.
if you swam at Carver High School, you were under tutelage of Mr. John Samuels. Chucky and them may have been your instructor. You know what I mean? Carol Turner or Jimmy Hayes or somebody like that. Yeah, yeah. May I told you that? Or what was the other one name? What was his name? World class swimmer. Sam Hicks.
Oh, Sam Hicks.
Wow, fast. Do you hear me? You know, we had Choo Choo and all these guys that were in high school, and they were setting all these records. They were winning all these meets. They were the stuff. And Blake Clifton came over there and talked about how good they were. They were winning in high school. They had world-class time. Till they came over to Druid Hill and swam against them. Gina Lee and them, Sam Hicks with the breaststroke, what was Ronald Wheeler? I think it was Ronald Wheeler, something like that. And they were down, they had their little meet, what's that called? A medley. When you swim the freestyle, then you swim the butterfly, then you swim the breaststroke. And when that boy with that world-class speed dived in that pool and Sam Hicks got in him, he had the lead on. When he hit that flip, that was it. That was it. When Sam Hicks hit that flip and turned on him, Jack, they could not believe Sam walked them down and passed them. And I'm talking about now, they were old heads. Gina and them were kids, but Sam and them were about 30 years old then. They're about 30 years old then. Yep. So my topic is...
They were firefighters.
Firefighters. Yeah, they stayed in shape. Donnie always talking. He'll chime in, I'm sure. I think he said his name was Charlie Douglas or something like that. Donnie and them used to come up there in a van, and the guy used to bring them up to Druid Hill every day to swim. A van full of them. You know what I mean? This is a shout out to all the people who took time out to help raise you, to help put you in a position to succeed. Donnie and our hero is Mr. Alan Meacham from James Mosier Little League Association, the oldest surviving member of our small band. If you don't know James Mosier, Charlie Duggar took me to the WEAA at age 15. Charlie Duggar took him up there swimming. Every day at Druid Hill Park, took him over there to the dome to play basketball. When you start talking about the NAACP, you're talking about Doc Cheatham. He was the president of the NAACP. Our good friend, all came from James Mosier. It's so much to learn. And so somebody take time to tell Peter A. Dobson, man, I'm proud of your sister. Take time to tell Pastor Williams, her real name is Rhonda Samuels, her maiden name is Williams. Take time what a great job, Yvette, you and Yvette, that your father did for us, taking time out for us. Like I said, Gina and them family are educators. You know, when they came around, that's all I knew. When I look at them, I know when we laugh and joke about the Rawlings and O'Con, the Conways and stuff. They were regular people to them. They were in their family. You know, so some of the people that made an example for your way of life, that gave you a chance. I'll bring this home. My final thought, Elijah Cummings, when they were
Mm.
over at Riverside, and these little black kids were getting stoned and bottled by the wonderful people. And once again, y'all, let's understand this. And so we'll all tell you, if you didn't notice, this is not a black show. This is not a white show. This is an informative show. There's nobody on our panel that's prejudiced, and there are too many sorry black people in our lives that hate white people. So, I'm telling you right now, if you hate police because of what happened to Freddie Gray and what happened to Mr. Foreman and stuff like that, the problem's not them. The problem is you. And if y'all don't know, my son Jalen is a sheriff. Is a sheriff. So don't tell me that he doesn't have two heads. He's not a monster. He's not missing three fingers. He's a regular person that has a job. He's a sheriff. That's what he does. He's in law enforcement. Tyler Perry made mention of that. Don't be hating people for their occupation or what they do. If you hate a person about those things, the sick person is not them. The sick person is you. Mr. Elijah B. McCummings was at the Riverside Pool when they integrated it. And when I drift off, Gina Lee will correct me because these are the topics that I get from her. They were over there swimming in the pool, and the wonderful people decided to stone them. They stoned them and bottled them because these little black kids were swimming in their water and didn't want it, and was busting bottles on. And Mr. Cummings got cut by one of the bottles. Didn't mean nothing to probably this 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid. Didn't mean anything to us. Didn't mean anything to them. Who knows if that's the reason why he ended up being a prominent member of society that he became? Maybe it's because that piece of glass cut him. Maybe that changed him. Donnie Glover came from James Mosier Association and Little League. He's a producer. I just talked to him. CC, we had to straighten him out because when he started the show, he chimed in for a minute, had his shirt off. Didn't I straighten him out, though? Had his shirt off when he came in. He plugged us in. He's over there working on his second book. First book is Unapologetically Black. He's over there finishing his book. He's been finishing his book for the last month and a half now. He got all the way to close to the end, and then he said, Party, when you start doing the finals, the critiquing, you don't know what goes into that. You feel me? When we start doing the podcast, we just think that he turns the thing on and we all start talking and we're syndicated and we're out in society. Well, no, we're not. No, we're not. He got to hit the mic, mute you, unmute you, flick you in, flick that person out. It's a lot to being a producer. It's a lot to being a producer. Donnie Glover came from Easterwood Park. He really came from East Baltimore. He said, when you read his book, you'll find out. And he had made a few stops. But I know Donnie from my kid's mother and them, too, rest in peace. They don't remember how fast you do it. They remember how well you do it. Donnie Glover. I like that, man. So, Donnie, who knows if one day that he was walking down the street or got in a fight or something like that coming from Easterwood Park or coming up from the neighborhood or something. Who knows if that was the reason why one day he decided, I think I'm going to be a advocate for people not getting in trouble. I think I'm going to walk around and talk another thing. I know Donnie from fighting. He was no chump or nothing like that. But Donnie Glover is also an accomplished pianist. His claim to fame, as his father told him, as a young man, you as an intelligent individual should be able to pretty much talk on any topic at any time in a conversation with anybody. I'm a sports nut, right? See, I love sports. But all my topics can't be the Ravens. You know what I mean? You should be able to talk about some other topics too. And that's what you learn. And if you don't learn those, y'all, and you don't want to do a lot of reading like my geeky wife that reads ketchup bottles, who we'll segue into, chime into this. Chime into the show. Donnie Glover comes on at 10 a.m. Donnie Glover, let me see, you have to be able to speak intelligent on most topics. You know, Donnie, and that's what he taught us that. Donnie Glover comes on at 10 a.m. on blackusa.news, bmorenews.com. He comes on from 10 to 11. He usually has some heavy hitters on there. He talks a lot of politics, talks a lot of influential people. People on his show come from all over the world. They talk about a lot of things. Donnie fancies himself a world traveler. He's been to Africa. He's been to a lot of places. He fancies himself a world traveler. So he talks on some topics. If you want to talk on those topics or listen on those topics, chime in between 10 and 11. Coach Bob Wade tomorrow. You feeling me? He likes a lot of heavy hitters. That's his topic. But at night from 7 to 8 to 7 to 8:30 is our special. We talk about different topics on different formats. We have the forum, the city hall, Sister Biz, I'm Party Marty, let's talk, town hall meeting. Chime in every night at 7 o'clock. This gentleman right here, Donnie Glover, gives everybody a platform to talk. He gives you a format and a platform. So all I can say to you is if you don't get any of this information with a format for blackusa.news and blackusa.com, the format is real simple. Information is power. That's his pet peeve. That's his go-to line. Information is power. Get you some information. Get you some information. Get you some power. If anybody don't know how I rambled on, some things touch me because I'm not a historian like Gina. I'm not an avid reader like my wife. I'm just West Baltimore Party Marty, and I talk on the topics that I talk on. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about what I talk on. I'm passionate about the regular stuff and being able to get out here and just talk on some topics so people can listen. And for anybody that's not thinking about what I'm saying, y'all share these podcasts. Please share. Please tell somebody about this. Please chime in to the Carl Evans and Gloria Evans, to BB that's out there. Tonight, Marisol Johnson is listening in from State Farm. Lisa will be on there next week. They have my State Farm representative, my car insurance, my house insurance, our boat insurance, our life insurance, right? See, everything is through State Farm. These people right here are an awesome group, and I totally 100% recommend them. Okay, y'all, thank you for letting me getting off that path and stuff. Okay, this next person that comes on, if you don't realize, she has my last name, and it's not because she's my sister, not because she's young enough to be my daughter. It's because she is my lovely wife. She turns her head all the time about that when I say it, but don't be ashamed of who you fall in love with. Do yourself a favor. You find somebody to make you happy. And that's what I did. I found somebody to make me happy. Right, baby?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah, you find somebody that makes me happy. Well, let me segue in now after dipping off path. And now I do my thing. Okay, CC. What's your topic tonight? I'm Party Marty. Let's talk.
And I'm CC Tate reporting for Party Marty Let's Talk.
There we go.
So my topic for today, I didn't do it as good as Gina, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm a work in progress.
But Gina's an originator.
Right. You can't beat the person that actually made it up. So
right.
I'm gonna just get as close as I can. But unlike Gina, for anybody who knows, Gina's our historian that was very informative. A lot of information that I didn't know, Gina. So thank you for that. I'm always wanting to soak up some new information. But I usually talk about current events. And lately it's been a lot about COVID, and tonight won't be any exception, because every day I always tell everybody we don't know more than we do know. And every day we find out something new. So it's our job to make sure that you know what we know. So the thing that I wanted to talk about is the COVID-19 vaccine and immunocompromised people. So they have found that when they did the clinical trials, that this is a group that was not included in the trials. So they weren't really sure how effective the vaccine would be for that. And when I speak of people who are immunocompromised, I'm speaking of like transplant patients, cancer patients, anybody who may take some kind of therapy that suppresses their immune system. So what they're finding is that even after the second dose of the vaccine, which in a normal healthy person, after your second dose of either the Pfizer or the Moderna, after 14 days, you're considered to be fully vaccinated. So the reason, what they're finding in this segment of the population is that they are not forming antibodies. meaning that the vaccine is, when you get the vaccine, it's introduced to your immune system so that the next time that it sees this virus, it can recognize it and fight it. So this group is now forming antibodies. After 2 weeks after your second vaccination, you should literally have thousands of antibodies if you have an antibody test. They have found that some people in this population have less than 100 antibodies. So the protection would not be there for them like it would be for anybody else. So they are suggesting that anybody who's in this position, whether it's HIV, chemotherapy, Crohn's disease, MS, just to name a few, people that have had the vaccine, that have those conditions, need to have a conversation with their doctors, because what the science is suggesting is that they may actually need a third vaccine. So they have a gentleman who was in Chicago who was a cancer patient. He had, if I'm not mistaken, it was leukemia, and he was fully vaccinated. And about a month after, he died because this was something that they did not, a variable that they didn't account for, was the fact that these drugs that people take who have these conditions actually suppress the immune system. So it's like a battle going on that your body is actually fighting the vaccine. So they said that we have 10 million immunocompromised people in the United States. The Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine use mRNA technology, which means that they don't contain weakened live viruses like some vaccines such as the flu shot. So they are trying to figure out if these vaccines will pose a threat to this segment of the population. So Pfizer and Moderna, because of the technology that they use, they don't pose a threat to compromised immune systems, because they're not actually introducing the weakened virus into your system. But 3 weeks after the Pfizer vaccine, only 39% of solid cancer patients and 13% of blood cancer patients show any antibody response. So this response is 97% in the healthy adult population. So my issue with this is, outside of the obvious, is that now the new CDC guidance is telling us that take the mask off. You know, that we can take the mask off if we are fully vaccinated. But being as though the control group that they used to do these clinical trials, immunocompromised people, were not included in it, then even though they are fully vaccinated, these are the weakest segment of our population, and we're all going to take the mask off. And I think that we will see, I hate to say it this way, but we will see a lot of fatalities in that group, because before this information came out, these people are also thinking that they are fully vaccinated and they have antibodies to fight this. But now we're finding out that they don't. So in my opinion, I'm fully vaccinated. I don't have any serious underlying health conditions, but knowing what I know now and all the new information that's coming out, I'm kind of with Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore City, and saying that I think we may be jumping the gun a little bit, because even though we know that we have supposed immunity after 2 shots, they aren't even sure how long the immunity lasts at this point. They're not sure if we're going to need a booster shot. So far, they only know that up to 8 months that you should be okay. But they don't know at which point during that cycle that the antibodies start to reduce. They don't know how, even though if you're vaccinated, you can still catch COVID, it'll be a less severe infection. but they don't know how this is going to translate into some segments of the population that they haven't even thought to put in these control groups to run these tests. So I just thought that that was scary and interesting at the same time. And I'm just not an advocate for thinking that, as Maurice said before, that, we swallowed the magic bullet and, we all safe to do our thing now. I just don't think that that's the case. And maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But I think that if we go with this new guidance, even I saw on the news today that a lady was in a boutique, I think it was in Hampton, Gina, that she was fighting a clerk or something like that because the lady wanted her to put a mask on. I mean,
I saw that.
I think that everybody is just in such a hurry to get back to normal, whatever that's going to look like. But we really, really have to take into consideration what happened last year. I think that, we kind of slipping and losing it because we aren't remembering that, 2020 was a rough one for all of us.
Yeah.
Financially, emotionally, it was rough, and that's that you can think of. And we in such a hurry. We got the COVID fatigue is so real. We so tired of staying in the house. We so tired of wearing the mask. We so tired of not traveling until I think that anything that tells us that even if the science doesn't support it, anytime that somebody come along and say you can take the mask off, you can gather in large crowds, we want to do it because it's like we missed it so much last year. But I would just anybody, and even in the African American community, I mean, one of the big things that is an immunocompromising thing is diabetes.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've even taken that into consideration, but we have a high prevalence in our community of diabetes. So what does that look like for them? They talked about cancer patients and transplant patients, but we all know that diabetes compromises the immune system. So what does that look like? Everybody got a mother, a cousin, or uncle, somebody that has diabetes, So what exactly are the implications for these people? Should they be getting antibody tests? Should they get a third shot? It's just so many variables that haven't been accounted for. So I just wanted to share.
Yeah, baby. Thank you very much, CC. Excellent
I
topic.
agree with you 100%. You know, when I heard them say that we could take the masks off, I couldn't believe it. But I agree with you 100%. We should not be so eager to jump back into normal life until we have all the facts. I mean, they're still testing children,
Absolutely.
so surely they don't know all the answers yet, you know. And what you're bringing up is a very important issue because, like you said, it's widespread in our community.
Absolutely.
Like you said, but like Marty said, this is not a black show, this is not a white show. Everybody should be concerned about protecting themselves and continuing to protect themselves. I'm telling you, I'm gonna stay until 2022. It's like
Hey, but real talk, yeah, she ain't playing information. I'm gonna tell you something. Once again, CC, excellent topic. And Gina, way to get in there. Hey, listen. If you want to talk about, we're not a political group here. We don't talk about politics as much because there's too many opinions in that, and that's not what our format is. The format for politics is 10 o'clock in the morning, Donnie Glover. He talks a lot of politics, a lot of politicians there. He may or may not care for the mayor. You know what I mean? That's to each his own. But one thing I like about our mayor, Jack, already stand your ground. He stand your ground. Hey, man, the governor told him they don't appreciate what he's doing. He should be opening this, opening it up. He said, do whatever you want. But I'm going to tell you in Baltimore, it's not open yet. You know what I mean? He
Right.
is not political. He said that from the start. Then, if y'all think back, I may not always make
The popular decision.
popular. Yeah, I was trying to look in layman's term. I was trying to use one of y'all words, but I should have just bowed out to a regular word like
Just go with
popular.
that one, baby.
I want to
Just go with
use
that.
like a legerdemain. I want to be appalled. I want to be loquacious. I want to throw a word in there right then. I got words, but none of them fit. But guess what the best word was? The regular word, the popular decision, Gina. So, so anyway, he doesn't care if he's popular. He's going to make some decisions that he think is right. He's trying to save lives. He's trying to save
Right.
lives and stuff like that. I'm an advocate for this cat. I ain't vote for him. I'm a Sheila Dixon fan and supporter. You know what I mean? That's why I voted for. But this guy right here is making some good decisions that I like so far. It is what it is. Moving right along. I have a passion for this. This has been, I guess I would call a burning desire because I've been thinking about it the whole time. Our topic last week, one of the topics that Gina Lee spoke on was the currency that they are handing out, the new persons that are going to be on the new quarter and what have you. And I was listening to that. Gina Lee was appalled the fact that Harriet Tubman didn't get her just due. And I was playing around on the internet. And I was just playing with my phone. I was sitting there with nothing else to do and was just looking at some Harriet Tubman topics, some things about her. This person is being shortchanged. Like Gina said, nobody could have done what she did. Nobody could have done what this person did. So right now at this time, I know, Gina, I know you don't have all your notes in front of you, but I have a burning desire for you to can you give us just some more little background, some insight we can on her? Tell me, if y'all didn't give her $20 bill, if everybody else didn't understand or what's going on here on We're Party Marty, I'm Party Marty, let's talk. We're going to give her a shout out again today. I want to hear some topics about this prestigious, powerful individual, Gina. Please share.
Well, Harriet Tubman, as I said, is a character that I play in my acting courses and things, and so I know I've researched her quite a bit, and I really think that it's a slap in the face that they're putting her depiction on the back of the $20 bill, delaying it because they say that they're trying to work out the possibility of counterfeiting. But yet and still, the plate to make her bill has been made and sitting there at the U.S. Treasury since 2018. That's the first thing. The second thing, and taking nothing away from Maya Angelou and Sally Ride. Sally Ride was the first woman to go to space. We all know Maya Angelou as, her famous poetry and her civil rights activism as well. But are you going to tell me a person that was born into slavery, that grew up whipped by another plantation owner's wife because she fell asleep while watching their baby at the age of 6, growing up and deciding, okay, I can't take this anymore. She gets married to a free Black man, and when she decides to try to escape, he says, no, I'm not going. So she does convince her 2 brothers to go, but they get scared and turn back. And that is why she started to carry a gun, because she told anybody who came on the Underground Railroad journey with her, you can't turn back. because I can't risk you going back and being tortured and telling the slave
Yeah.
masters where we are. They'll kill us. So her one of her famous statements is, well, either be free or you will die a slave. Yeah, I'll shoot you right here. Because if you go back, they're gonna kill you. I might as well kill you right here. So to say that this woman on her first trip, who traveled by herself all the way from Maryland to Philadelphia, on foot, mind you, gets there and finally seeks freedom, meets up, gets the information that she should meet a man named William Still, who is helping escaped slaves find work. He gives her a job. She makes enough money that she can now go back and try to free her family. She's going back 19 times.
Wow.
To save her family as well as other slaves. She even, and I think I told you this, when mothers would try to journey with her and they had babies, she had to opt to give them opium to keep the babies quiet. Opium, I'll say. You know, back in those days, it was an herb.
Right.
But I mean, these are things that her father taught her, how to use herbs as medicine while he was working and digging the river that helped to move the lumber on the plantation where they lived. He taught her how to use the stars for navigation, how to use plants and herbs for medicine. Those are the things that helped her get to where she was and to continue to make these journeys. She also was a I say a corporal, but she oversaw a regiment of men in the Union Army. She did, because the general trusted her. She was a spy for the Union Army. And because she was so tiny, a lot of people don't realize Harriet Tubman was only 5 feet tall.
Wow.
She weighed about less than 120 pounds. And she could, because she knew the land so well, she was able to travel back and forth without being discovered. Because she knew the land.
Hey, CC, some of this information and stuff that we be getting, we sit around after the podcast and talk about it ourselves and enjoy it, don't we?
Absolutely, because Harriet Tubman is a historical figure that people know. We all know the basics. We all know the Underground Railroad. She freed the slaves, but it's always so interesting to hear when people have those intricate little details that you don't know.
Yeah, when B was telling us about B's last episode was saying to us about she was a spy, and that's what Gina just now made mention of. She was also a spy, Gina.
Yeah, sorry, I blocked out for a minute there.
Go ahead.
But yeah, she was a spy for the Union Army. And because the generals trusted her, she was able to bring back secrets for the Union, so they won the war. She even convinced one of the generals to send out a ship to Harper's Ferry, where more than 700 slaves, as soon as they saw the ship, they knew she was coming, and they ran with their sacks on their shoulders and their belongings, ran for the ship. And the captain allowed these black people onto his ship. She freed so many people, and on top of that, she was a nurse for the Union Army as well, because of her knowledge of herbs as medicine, the soldiers had a terrible disease called dysentery. And she used the herbs that she had put together and made a concoction that cured the dysentery, and it saved their lives. So that was one of the reasons that the generals began to really trust her, because they knew that she wasn't, going to harm them. So she was not only a slave, she was a nurse. She cooked for them. She was a spy. She was also, of course, a fugitive. They had bounty on her head. So even if she had made it to freedom, which technically she did, but if she had been turned over by some white person that wanted to collect the ransom that was out for her, she could have been returned back to slavery at any moment. So she spent her entire life as a fugitive. And then, even after she got out of the war, she went on to Rochester, New York, where after she got out, she was never paid for her service, never paid. But one of the congressmen said that because of her service and because of the knowledge that she brought to their victory, they gave her a plot of land. And on that plot of land, she built a house and she built an infirmary. And the infirmary was for Black people that when they got up in age, there was nothing like this for our people of color. When you got up in age, now you got nursing homes. They didn't have that. So she built this infirmary to take care of them when they got up in their 80s and 90s and so forth, so that they would have the care that they needed. And she remarried and she adopted a daughter named Gertie. And she later sold the house and the infirmary to a nearby church. And the church kept it up for many years, but it started to deteriorate from neglect. But she went on and lived a pretty good life. She stayed in the infirmary. That's where she died. And she's buried in Auburn, New York. But the thing that really impresses me about her is once she found out, when they found out that slaves were escaping, they formed laws that said if you capture a slave, you can gain the ransom that's on their heads. So a lot of people were turning, even though the slave had made it to freedom, they were turning them back in for the money. So, once she found that out, she said, okay, we're not going to stop here in the United States. We're going to go all the way to Canada. That's 750 miles on foot. And it brings tears to my eyes just to say it. It makes me cry to think that, none of us could do that. None of us on foot.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And for them to not allow her to be on currency and just overlook her and put two other people in it. And again, I'm not taking anything away from their accomplishments, but I'm sorry, it just brings tears to my eyes, because I know when I went to her visitor center in Dorchester County, it will make you cry when you think about how hard it must have been.
Hey, Gina Lee, we want to hear about her love life, Nick. Can you lighten up the mood a little bit?
After she got rid of
I'm sorry?
Donnie keep on commenting that she left that scrub, her husband, and went and got him a new guy. That's how she got her name. You know how Donnie is. You got to
No,
saying.
I'm going to tell you how she got her name. She got her name because when the first husband, his last name was Tubman. And then when she finally got to freedom and William still asked her, what name do you want to use? She used her mother's name. Her mother's name was Harriet Green.
Hold up, Gina. You done rushed over an important fact. You got to tell them who William is.
William Still was the founder of the I'm sorry, I don't remember, the Freedom Fighters
the Underground Railroad.
The Freedom Fighters Union. He started that. He was the one who made sure once they reached freedom, they could get a job and have a place to stay.
That's the Underground Railroad, correct?
Was this a black guy or a white guy?
Black man.
He was a black guy. He was a black man. But
he started the Underground Railroad, correct?
The Underground Railroad
was
No. Underground Railroad technically was what Harriet Tubman did.
William Still.
The Underground Railroad was a series of houses and trails.
Gina, I've been asking you for 2 minutes. Did not William Still help found the Underground Railroad?
No.
He did not.
No.
Hold up, man.
Not according to the
Freedom Fighters Union.
I got him down as being a part of the founding of the Underground Railroad.
Let me jump in there. In the movie itself, she met him after she had made the journey. She had already made the journey.
Correct.
Then. She met him as the go-to person when she got there. He didn't start that. The Underground Railroad was actually the maze, the houses, the people helped out. That was the Underground Railroad. You know what I mean?
There was an underground railroad in the Midwest as well.
I'm not saying it
wasn't just one underground railroad.
Hold up. I'm not saying he was the only one, but he was a conductor of the Underground Railroad. That's a fact.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I thought you said that.
I have always been under the impression that he was one of the founders of the Underground Road. Absolutely. I do know
he did not found it.
No.
Okay. Well, who did found it?
The Underground Railroad technically was.
I'm talking to her.
Johnny, why are you jumping in here with this, man? Why are you jumping in here with this?
Because
why are you jumping in here with this? I'm asking you a question. You asked me, you asked her, why are you jumping in here with this? Let me answer you, then you can go over to her. The Underground Railroad was technically the tunnels, the houses, the people. Now, how can you actually say that he had started it if he wasn't there until she made the trip? But let me finish, then you get it, then it get there. That's the same as back in the day when they told us. Yeah, but how did he start something? How did Christopher Columbus discover America if there are 3 ships already on the ocean and the Indian is standing there on Plymouth Rock? You get what I'm saying, Gina? And see, that's all I'm saying. If they asked us that in James Mosier. That's another topic. They said that Christopher Columbus discovered America. I want y'all to think about something. Gina Lee, you and I read the same book, Finding Directions. My wife's favorite book. You remember that, baby? When they were standing underneath the child? Yeah, that's what it was. They told us that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And on the book, it shows the Indians standing on Plymouth Rock. Christopher Columbus is out in the middle of the ocean on 3 boats, the Santa Maria, the Mayflower, the Nema. How in the world can he be and discovered America if he's waving at the Indian that's standing there on shore? It can't be. Now, Donnie, I'm saying, sure, this man had part in starting the Underground Railroad from his end. But what we're saying, what they're saying
that's all I'm saying. Hey, Pimp, I'm very capable of articulating for myself.
You can't be if you figure somebody started something that didn't get in until the end. She
That's
met
not
him.
true.
She met
That's
him.
not
Okay. He didn't. No, he didn't start it, Donnie. He didn't start. Let me
okay.
help you with that. He didn't
Okay.
start it.
Okay. Well, who did?
Harriet Tubman started it. The actual act. The actual act of following the roots. You asked me a question. The actual act of making the roots. The actual act
One
of being
person
part of
did
the
not make
house.
all of
We
the
all
rules.
talk. See, that's what I said. I love you. But we talk, you gave your
For
opinion,
that,
and then we go with our opinion. You let your
Not
opinion
a one
supersede
tenth
ours.
of what went on.
You can't, it don't make any sense. You know what I mean? As we were saying, Gina, and see, here it is. Listen at me. And this is only my opinion that I give you, right? The Underground Railroad was an intricate part of the houses that you go through, the swamp that you ran through, the person with the gun, the holding the babies over there, giving them opium, jumping across the bridge, the man in the ship. All of that is the Underground Railroad. The whole process, the tunnels, the whole act of getting there. You feel
and
me?
many of the abolitionists who were Quakers, they're the ones that actually created the safe houses for the slaves to travel to. It had
Yeah.
nothing to
Right.
do with another black man.
CC, get in there. Opinion.
They say that just like Gina said, abolitionist, a Quaker by the name of Isaac T. Hopper.
Right.
That's what my research
And
said.
he
He was the one that set up the.
he
Go
was in
ahead.
the Midwest. He wasn't
Yeah.
even
Right.
on the East Coast. He was in the
They say
Midwest.
in
Yeah.
Philadelphia that he helped to set up the routes, for the safe house. I think a lot of people, and I'm sure that's not the case with Donnie, but I think that a lot of people, for other people that are watching, think of the Underground Railroad as really an underground railroad.
Yeah. As the
But
physical. As the physical.
right,
It's not that. It's the act of. That and
right,
the Underground Railroad was just a name they gave it. It's just a
right.
name that they gave it, the Underground Railroad. The actual act of it. That was it. That's it. As we're saying, as the whole thing. If anybody's out there listening, this is what we do. We comment on things because we give up opinions. Donnie has an opinion, CCG and myself. I don't want a person to get credit for something that they didn't do. And you just gave him that. He sat over there, a free man with his money in his house chilling, while as Gina Lee's passionate self said, she was running around through the swamps. Now we're gonna say he discovered it. How he discovered it? He wasn't over there getting beat. He wasn't dragging them through. How many trips did she make, Gina?
Don't
How
put
many trips
words
did
in
she
my
make?
mouth.
How many trips
19.
did she? 19 trips. Let me give you a word, man. Did he make 19 trips with them? Yeah,
Nope.
jump back in there. Did he make 19 trips on the
You
Underground
have
Railroad? That's a
confused.
question.
You've confused the
So your
whole.
answer, as you asked Gina, the answer is no. Every trip that was made by Harriet Tubman made. And
Nobody's taking
the
credit for
topic that
Harriet
we
Tubman.
started,
Stop.
y'all, the topic that we started was they're not taking anything away from these other people. How many women are there that's going to be on the coins, Gina?
2.
Okay, we're not going to
Well,
take anything.
there'll be a series. There'll be a series. That I think they said 25 between now 2002 and 2015. There'll be
Okay,
25.
we're
They'll be
we're not.
doing
Go ahead.
they'll
We're
be
not going to.
doing like 2 to 5 a year.
We're not taking anything away from these prominent people and females that are going to be on these coins. We're not taking
Right.
anything from him. We're not saying that Harriet Tubman is better than or nothing like that. Our conversation is she didn't get recognized. She didn't
Exactly.
get recognized, and everybody else is getting recognized. They're putting it to the side. We love
And
Donnie Glover.
they're talking about they're not even planning to put her, even consider her until 2028.
Wow.
Shoot,
This is what
I may even be dead by then.
yeah,
Golly.
you and me both could be. You know what I'm saying? Just that's the part that we're talking about. As we're saying, you know what I mean? That's why we came up about it. We were passionate about it. Donnie Glover has a good opinion on it. We understand his opinion. But according to Donnie, The person that started the railroad is a person that was sitting at home, that was already a free slave. I mean, that was a free man. And all we're saying is nobody's giving this person a dude that drove through the swamps. Nobody's giving this person that dude that brought him through there. Now all of a sudden he's gonna sit over there and he's gonna get the recognition. The record book is gonna say he started it. Come on, man. Come on. He didn't. He didn't. It was some
He
other
didn't.
people that did that. He did not. But that's what the history books will say. The golden rule, y'all, to the people and everybody out there in podcast land. He who has the gold makes the rules. That's the golden rule.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Black history is so full of rich nuggets. I'm kind of feeling like you are painting me as someone who doesn't try to celebrate the truth in Black history. That's the part I'm over here struggling with, Mr. Tates. No one's a bigger fan of Black history, including Araminta Ross, Miss Harriet Tubman, than I. So, you know, don't get too carried away.
All I said was, Johnny,
I'm not the enemy, okay? I'm not trying to rewrite Black history or take any credit. I'm always trying to give our people credit. So take me out of that book.
But I believe, but here's the next thing. Remember this, though, Donnie. You jumped in here. You.
Yeah, because I'm in part
wait a
of the
minute,
story.
wait a minute. You jumped in here. You jumped in here. You did. You did. So you came in with a topic like we always do in the forum. You came, you talked and we waited. But as soon as we start talking, you talk again. That's not how the forum goes. That's not how the forum goes. You talking about the only reason why we brought her up is because she didn't get her just due. And that's the point. If you're not listening out there in TV land, we're making sure that Gina Lee's, my wife will put in, but my wife is so used to her husband being all over the place like this. When it's all over, she'll give me her opinion on how I am. But as I'm saying to Donnie Glover, as I'm saying to the people out in the world, as Gina Lee and I are saying, we're not going to shortchange Harriet Tubman because the rest of the world wants to. We're not going to do it. We're not going to tell her that you don't deserve to be on the bill because everybody else said so. We're not going to do it. We're not going to let somebody come off and say that was sitting in the house, a free man that didn't drag through them swamps, that didn't get beat, that wasn't beaten, abused, raped, molested, or abandoned, get the credit of saying they started the railroad. They did not. They did not. They did not. They got there on the tail end, and we're giving them credit for it. If you listen to Gina Lee's series 2 weeks ago and what she's saying now, or do as I say to everybody else, what do they do, see? Do your research. As what Donnie taught us, do your research. See, getting a little quiet. Me and Gina been like this for a minute. Do your research, right, Gina? If you want to figure out who started the Underground Railroad and stuff like that, do your research. If research tells you that a person started something that was at the end, then go ahead and believe it. You know what I mean? How does it work, y'all? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
There you go.
You know what I mean? You got to have your own opinion. But as they told me, the lady, my Miss Savage, y'all remember her, Gina, right? Miss Savage, kindergarten. When they showed us CC, that they told us that Christopher Columbus discovered America, and he was out in the middle of the ocean on 3 ships, and they were on shore. The Indian was standing there on Plymouth Rock waving to him. How in the hell did he discover America? If they out in the water and the Indian already standing there.
But see, we were impressionable kids.
Exactly. So not get tricked now when we adults. What did they say? As they say in West Baltimore, you can't piss on me and tell me that it's raining. You can't tell me that it's raining. This is an awesome individual, Miss Harriet Tubman. A powerful lady that Gina said went back 19 times. She was free and could have been over with. She never got paid for it, never got her due. And when it's all over with, everybody in the history books tries to give credit to everybody except for this individual. Now time come to put somebody on the money. Here's somebody else getting credit for it. Everybody except for this individual. And I didn't think much about it until Gina talked about it the other day. And my future daughter-in-law, B, says, did you know she was a spy? And I thought about that, but Gina was telling the story. She said she was a spy, but I didn't hear because it was so much information. You know what I mean? Then that's when B said, you do know she was a spy. When I listened at her say she was a spy, that's what made me, when I was sitting around today killing time, play on my phone. They had so much information about Harriet Tubman. So much information. This was a powerful individual. If anybody's out there listening, Donnie Glover and I are opinionated people who've been knowing each other for years and years. Don't feed into that. We all have opinions. That's what these podcasts are, to talk about stuff. If you do your research and somebody tells you that that person that was sitting there at home is the person that invented it, he invented the Underground Railroad because he named it that, then good for you. And if you're sitting back and you're thinking, me and Gina said the Underground Railroad was the act. It was the act of taking these slaves from one point to another. And when they got to Maryland, some snakes went over there and still started turning them in. And then Gina said they decided to take them to Canada. How many miles is that, Gina, to Canada?
750.
750 miles. What did they have? Limos? Cadillacs?
On foot.
Helicopters?
On foot.
I can't fathom giving anybody else credit for doing that but her. Nobody that's sitting in their room is going to get credit for that from me. Nobody that didn't bang that gun is going to get credit that from me. That's all I'm saying. I make sure I start myself when I tell my story. You know what I mean? I have a long way that I came, but I have a long way that I came from. So I don't take away from anything. Anybody, let's go, baby. Here's what we usually do. Burn desire. CC, I need you to get in there, talk about something. Me and Gina and Donnie have monopolized the show. So I need you to talk about something.
For my final thought and my burning desire, as you say, I would just say that I would just encourage people to take caution with COVID. You know, sometimes use a little common sense. You know, this thing is far from over. People are still dying. I know what the CDC said. I know what the governor said. But I'm saying continue to wear your mask. Continue to social distance, because we just don't have enough information at this time to say that we are in the clear and we are out of the danger zone.
That's a good closing thought. Gina Lee, closing thought.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to our Baltimore hero, Tamara Dobson. Even though she is posthumously being honored, I just want to, say that if you get a chance, go past Western High School and check out the lobby and take a gander at Tamara Dobson's portrait. And she's one of our notable Western alumni.
Hey, shout out to Tamara, Derwin, Peter A. Dobson, my friends from the corner. Gina, we're going to organize that. We'll give it down and he'll tell us exactly how to do it. So maybe we'll drop this in your lap, Gina. We need we are fact-finding committee. I would like to put together, if no more than a panel, to go to Western together as a lunch date. You know what I mean? To go, CC, we said we want to see what's underneath Lexington Market. I want to be part of that tour. I want to be part of that tour. So that's definitely it. Okay, baby, everybody that got in there for the last minute, we want to make sure to let y'all know exactly what we have going on here. Our producer is Donnie Glover from blackusa.news, bmorenews.com. He has a show that's on every morning from 10 to 11. And he talks about politics. He's a very informative, information gathering person. And that's what he does. Our historian is Gina Lee. She talks about a lot of topics that she put together. CC is probably the glue to try to gather everybody together and figure out what we're doing. She's a geek, a reader, a nerd, as I call my wife. And if you caught in there and you listened, I want to let y'all know something else. Our panel, and this format that Donnie Glover has, this is what it's about. Some information. This is what it's about. Some opinions. Everybody's opinion is not always going to be the same. I don't have to agree with Don. He don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with my wife or Gina, nor do they have to agree with me. So do your own research. Do your own research. Figure some things out. You know what I mean? If you're asking about that, Donnie Glover's opinion was the record said that this man did this and he was influential and he really did good. I'm sure he does. In the Underground Railroad, probably was influential in it, and he did it. You know what I mean? We're just saying that we think that the person that actually walked us through it is the person who's in charge of the railroad, not the conductor that's riding the train. The man is that laid the tracks. All right, y'all. Right before we go, we always leave out with the same thing. I keep you going with my thing. And as we always finish, hands up to a good show, y'all. Hands up to a great show. My panel to another great show. 3 heavy hitters and stuff like that. We always do what we do. I got something that's called my favorite rapper. His name is Eminem. I always leave off with him because he has a song that has a lot to do with me. And he teaches us, you need to lose yourself with the music, the moment. You got to own it. Never let it go. If you have an opinion, you need to stick to it. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance or blow. My opportunity came once in a lifetime, yo. One more hands up to the panel. One more hands up, panel. Great day. Good night, CC. Good night, Gina Lee. Good night, Donnie Glover. Good night, John Boy. Good night, everybody.